As we wrap up this chapter, let's just spend a few minutes talking about job satisfaction again and some of the things that you practically can do as a leader in your organizations to increase the likelihood that job satisfaction goes up. Okay. So let's look at the outcomes that are linked with job satisfaction. So employees that are more satisfied with their jobs tend to be more motivated. They tend to be more involved with their jobs. They tend to have fewer what we call withdrawal cognitions. What this means is basically that if an employee is thinking about quitting or is starting to get a little bit upset with his or her job, they may think twice and they may stick it out a little bit longer and give it more of a chance before quitting. One statistic that was calculated a while back showed that 31% of all of the people who leave their jobs leave within the first 6 months, which is pretty early, either because they thought their boss wasn't so great or the job wasn't what they were expecting. But people who are more satisfied with their jobs will tend to wait a little bit longer and stick it out longer before they quit. The other thing is people who are more satisfied with their jobs tend to perceive the stress of their jobs as relatively low, as lower than maybe even what it really is. So that means that if you have a really stressful job, which I'm sure many of us do, if you generally are satisfied with your job, then you're probably going to be able to deal with that stress a lot more than if you were not satisfied with your job. And it also means that if you have less stress in your job, you're likely to be more satisfied with your job too. So this is why you can see some employers, including some of my former employers, that used to encourage us to take time off, right? They wanted us to have a low perception of stress in our jobs. Even though our jobs were stressful, they encouraged us to take time off to refresh. I remember many years back when I was managing people at a large bank, the company I was working for even prevented us from using our phones to connect with employees while we were on vacation because the company really wanted us to completely disconnect while we were on vacation and really have the time to ourselves to refresh. So if you're a leader, there are steps you can take to encourage people to be more satisfied with their jobs by lowering the perceived stress, by increasing motivation, etc. Now, one of the things that you see if employees are more satisfied with their jobs is this concept called organizational citizenship behavior, or OCB. And the easy way to think of OCBs is this is behavior. These are things that you don't have to do in your job. It's not in your job description, but you do it anyway, and you do it voluntarily, and you do it happily, even though you're not rewarded for doing it. So you might say, that doesn't seem so logical, right? My job description says I have to do this, right? But I'm going to do more than this, even though I'm not getting rewarded for it. And why would anybody do that? Well, if you're more satisfied with your job, then the likelihood is you're going to want to satisfy the people around you. You're going to want to help the organization achieve its goals, even if it means you're not explicitly rewarded for that. One example from my own career, it's even related to the job I do today. There's sort of a culture of professors stepping in at the last minute to teach a class if there's nobody available to teach it for whatever reason. So let's say that we have a lot of students that are enrolled for a 6-week class during the summer. And let's say I wasn't really expecting to teach this summer, but there's nobody else to teach the class, and a lot of students are interested in the class. Well, I'm not required as part of my job to teach a summer class, but as an organizational citizenship behavior, as an OCB, I might say, look, I really want to help the organization out. I really want to make sure that the students who signed up for the class can take the class and that the class doesn't get canceled. And the culture here at the university is such that I feel motivated to teach the 6-week summer class, for example. Even though my boss is not paying me anymore, even though I'm not getting any reward, even though I'm not necessarily being praised by everybody for stepping up. But think of an OCB as stepping up voluntarily, even when there is no reward. And that could be extremely powerful to an organization. Imagine you, if you're a leader and your company is having a big problem or a big crisis, and you can't get the job done by yourself, but you have a team of 10 people who volunteer to stay late for the next several nights in order to help you get this very difficult problem solved, and they don't expect any explicit rewards. That might be hard to understand if you haven't been in that situation, but I can tell you from experience that if you have a team that has a lot of OCBs, it's definitely going to help you, it's going to help them, and it's going to help the organization. And it goes without saying, but I will of course say it, that if you are a company that has a lot of OCBs, then your company is probably going to be more productive. It's going to have lower costs. You're going to have more satisfied customers when people voluntarily step up, and fewer people are going to quit the company as well. And there are benefits for the person too that has the OCBs. That person tends to be more satisfied with his or her job. That person tends to get higher performance ratings from his or her boss. That person tends to be absent less frequently. And there seems to be less turnover in organizations that have high OCBs, meaning fewer people leave, fewer people get frustrated, fewer people quit. Okay. So all of these are examples of how OCBs help an organization. And I would encourage you as a coach, as a leader, as a manager, or whatever role you play in the future, be on the lookout for organizational citizenship behaviors. And from time to time, ask yourself, in whatever role you're in now, are there some OCBs that you feel comfortable stepping up for, even if you're not explicitly rewarded for them?